But the thing about my grandma was that she didn't define herself as a refugee. You know, she never, I mean, she obviously she was one, but that wasn't how she chose to define herself. And that was the same thing with the people that we met. They didn't, you know, they were business people, they were parents, they went to college, you know, they wanted to be known for other things than that. And, you know, that's something that we wanted to focus on. And also this idea that most of us have some connection to this within our own family history. I mean, we're in America, we're in a country where most people have a history in another place, whether or not that's you or your parents or somebody 10 generations ago, you probably had some form of displacement within your family. So that's something we want to remind people about as well.
Okay, questions for our filmmakers and for Killian? Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for such a comprehensive picture of what's going on. And I have two questions. The first is real quick. Do the maternal health services there do anything with birth control to women? And number two, if you could take the overall amount of money that's pouring into that camp, UN money, NGO money, bilateral, what percentage would be from the oil-rich states?
Did everyone pretty much hear that question? Okay.
Well, I guess that's a question for me. I was actually in the camp about 4 weeks ago, and it has become, fortunately, more and more what I would call a living space rather than a storage facility. And that has been, for me, one of the most important aspects all the time. Of course, the aid agencies are providing the services together with the Jordanian medical services, everything you need. And in a way, we need to remember, only 10%, maybe 12% of the world's refugees are actually living in camps. Most people live outside of camps. So here we have a very strong story, a compelling story about a community of currently about 75,000 people, whilst hundreds of thousands, they're living on their own. And there's less attention. Now to your second question of what are the Arab states, the Gulf states are doing, actually much more than we think. I mean, first of all, they are a major contributor to many of the UN agencies. And again, please recall the UN has no money. It depends on governments giving money to the UN and to the aid agencies. The UN has no proper money. So, in fact, it has to raise money for this. And so it's very important that we actually influence our governments to continue to push and push them to contribute to the efforts. It's, of course, also our $5 we put into a box from time to time. So, no, the Gulf states are doing quite a lot. And I also would like to sort of kill a myth. There are no refugees in the Gulf states, that's true. But the Gulf states have accepted a lot of people actually working and living there from war-torn countries such as Somalia, Iraq, Syria, and so on. We can debate the working conditions, but there is an Arab solidarity, and maybe it's not the way of how we provide assistance, but it's certainly there.
So another for Killian. The film said that since you left the camp, among the things you've been doing is to advise European governments on the refugees. How's that been going?
Well, I'm actually working with a government which hasn't been really brilliant when it comes to, let's say, construction measures, as they call it. I'm working for the Ministry of Interior in Austria. And actually have been able to somewhat contribute to the improvement of conditions for asylum seekers when they come into Austria. I'm allowed to say publicly that I totally disagree with the former Minister of Interior of Austria. It doesn't matter. I'm getting along very well with the current Prime Minister of Austria, and I think we're having the same line. I'm working with the German government on actually addressing some of the issues which affect people out there, which is about education, the perspectives for jobs, things like that. And I must say that suddenly, and I'm somebody who says thank you to the million people who came, because they finally raised the attention, the level of attention, maybe not always in the positive sense, but at least people are talking about it. people are aware that there's something like the issue of refugees and migration out there. That was not the case before. Anyway, so suddenly we're thinking of how can we actually create jobs. So the government I'm advising, I'm now working on an initiative to create about 500,000 jobs in the Middle East. It's not so easy because there is a major, major deficit. We have neglected these places for too long. They have massive problems of climate change, which, by the way, contributed a lot to this conflict with the drought in Syria a few years back. The water scarcity in the entire region. Of course, bad education, no real access to, let's say, the 21st century for a number of populations. So a major, major development deficit, which needs now to be suddenly addressed in a fast track. But I'm sort of, again, thankful to the refugees who made it, because finally I think we're waking up and understanding that we are not alone on the world in our, let's say, bubble of richness and wealth.
I have two questions. My first one for the filmmakers. How long did it take you to identify families who were willing to tell their stories?
Yeah, it was surprisingly fast, actually, finding these two families. Originally, the film was going to be about the Taekwondo school. We were focused mainly on the story of the Taekwondo school and his dreams of building the school and everything like that. So we went on 2 trips throughout the course of a year. During the first trip, we met these 2 families because they were both involved with the Taekwondo school, and after spending a few weeks with them, we realized they were really open, welcoming, and really willing to share their stories with us. And we followed them that entire time, and then when we came back, we also continued to follow them as well. And I think it's a testament to how open they are by the footage that they shared with us. I mean, Mohammed, that was his wedding video. That's one of the few things that he brought with him across the border from Syria. And we're really happy we found them and that they were willing to share their stories with an audience.
And my second question for the camp director, sorry I'm blanking on your first name right now.
Killian.
How many people, both staff and volunteers, does it take to operate a city like that?
Yeah. First of all, maybe another remark on your first question. What we did in the camp as well is we actually changed the narrative. We tried to tell stories of people, to make it clear to everyone this is not things, these are not chihuahuas or something, or commodities. These are real people, real human beings with a story. So, with due respect, this is not the only movie which has been done in the camp. So there's, in fact, people are quite used to it because we really said, hey, let's tell another story about refugees. Let's get this out of that corner of charity and the poor little people. These are real people with worries, with concerns, with dreams, with everything else. They're people like us, and very clear, in all of us there's a refugee. So that's somewhat to the first part. The second one is, yes, to run a place like this one, it's actually running a city on a shoestring. No mayor in the world would be running it that way. I had UNHCR about 120 staff. If I counted all the NGOs, all the charity organizations in place, some of them a little bit not very well coordinated. They were doing their things, but it's about 1,000 staff of 8 organizations operating in there. And then, and in addition to that, about 2,000 Syrians working every day on cleaning the streets, working in the clinics, and so on. Now, I'm somebody also who says they can do much more themselves. Again, why do we need all these charity organizations to do something they can do themselves? So I have a good example on sports again, which was on soccer, because, well, there's no reason somebody from outside comes and organizes a soccer club. They can do it themselves. And so we started this type of activities. So staff, in that sense, we didn't count the many self-organized structures we set up. But you can say, yes, about 1,000 aid agency staff, about 2,000 Syrian staff, and there was about 1,000 we never really knew. Police officers and so on deployed to ensure security, which was